Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. Well, I'm pretty pissed. The little bit that I do know, so I'm going to hold total judgment back on McCarthy, but I think he caved. I think he caved to the Democrats. They played a game of chicken. If the U.S. did default on its debt, it would be the first time. And my understanding is it would be catastrophic for politics in general. Now, who would win? Who would lose the least? I don't know. I think Biden would have. Before we go on, I think it's kind of ironic. You look over Biden's left shoulder, and it's a statue bust of, looks like RFK, which is kind of ironic, being that RFK's son is challenging Biden in the primary for the presidency. But I don't know if anybody even noticed that, but I certainly did. I think McCarthy caved. I think he did. And I'm wondering what the holdouts in the McCarthy for Speaker vote are going to say about it. Very little details are out. The bill is on the website on Fox. I'm not going to go through the hundreds of pages. The articles, none of the articles mention the new IRS agents. So say they cut them back 20%. They shouldn't be there to begin with. 79,000 more agents. All they're going to do is pummel the American people. Middle-class people, lower income people as well. Let's just cut through the crap before we all drown in it. Anyway, I'm really upset. Let's see the article. Biden and McCarthy reached debt ceiling deal to avoid default. Here's what's in it. House Rules Committee to meet Tuesday afternoon to prep debt ceiling bill for floor debate on Wednesday. Now, I'm not sure how they cobbled together the votes, to be perfectly frank, how they got the votes they have. Biden says that McCarthy has the votes, but is he counting maybe 15, 20 Republicans that vote no, and he'll convince 15, 20 Democrats to vote yes to get a majority? I'm not sure how they're going to play it. But I'll tell you the truth, I'm pretty pissed. Frankly, I don't know all the details. I got to be upfront. But I have to say, in all honesty, I think that McCarthy up pretty badly. But the devil's in the details. I was a local elected official in the 2000s, and I compromised on a lot of legislation. Granted, it's nowhere near the level of the federal government, but the principles are the same. We're going to have to see. President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have reached the much-awaited budget detail, averting a potentially catastrophic U.S. default with days ahead of the June 5th deadline. So let's see what the guy on Fox has to say.
The Democrat Party say they are not happy with the details of this deal, but the same thing could be said on the Republican side, as you heard from Congressman Ralph Norman, whom we interviewed earlier this hour. Let's check in with Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. He knows better than anybody what's going on, the undercurrents of the feelings of members of the House of Representatives. So, Chad, you just heard what the president had to say. How does that square with what members of the House are saying?
Well, it was important for the public and also Democrats to hear from the president here because they've heard from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy several times since they cut this deal last night. Kevin McCarthy spoke briefly last night. He spoke on Fox News Sunday today. He held another press conference today. And so Democrats, need to get air cover from the president. Not every Democrat is going to be for this when they try to put this on the House floor. And I thought it was interesting toward the end of the president's remarks. He was asked about, if he thought the speaker had negotiated in good faith. He said yes. And he said, I also believe he will have the votes. This is part of this, parliamentary cocktail, as I've described it here today.
Parliamentary, from Congress. Parliamentary cocktail is exactly right. A mix of majority of Republicans and just enough Democrats to get it through. So they're going to give some a pass, depending on the district. I'll tell you the truth. You can go on this Fox page. It's 99 pages. No, it's got to be more than that, but that's probably just the outline. The agreement would fully fund Medicare for veterans at the levels included in Biden's proposed 2024 budget blueprint, including a fund dedicated to veterans who have been exposed to toxic substances or environmental hazards. Biden sought $20.3 billion for the toxic funder exposure fund. This budget, and Republican negotiators ensured Sunday that funding was left untouched. The agreement would keep non-defense spending roughly flat in the 2024 fiscal year and increase it by 1% the following year, as well as provide a 2-year debt limit increase. Now, if you keep it flat, it's actually a cut in a weird way because of inflation. But that's another story for another time. The agreement would expand some work requirements for the SNAP program, formerly known as food stamps. I love that. Food stamps sounds too negative, so we're going to change it to Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. I got to admit, Democrats come up with the greatest acronyms. It would raise the age for existing work requirements from 49 to 54. Similar Republican proposal, well, that would changes would expire in 2030. Yeah, they can get rid of it at any time in the future, up until now in 2030, but that's not that big of a deal in the overall scheme of the budget. It's more a principle thing than anything else. I want to know about the IRS agents. I want to know how much more money the FBI is getting. Now you're saying, John, oh, you're one of the cut the police guys. You want to cut money to the FBI, but then you criticize all the progressive whack jobs that want to cut local police departments. Not at all. I want to take away some money. Maybe even take some money, take a large chunk of money of the FBI budget and putting in a holding, we'll call it a place in the budget to hold it. And if you don't get your act together, we're going to take that money and do something else with it. That's what I would do. But if you straighten out, or at least try to clean up your FBI, we'll give you that money and put it back in your budget. It's still in the budget. It's just basically on hold. That's what I would have done. The White House said it would, at the same time, reduce the number of vulnerable people, including veterans and people who are homeless, of all ages, who are subject to the requirements. The agreement would rescind about $30 billion in unspent coronavirus relief money that Congress approved through previous bills, with exceptions made for veterans' medical care. Basically, veterans got a pass on all of it, which I agree with. And here's some of the other things. The deal puts in place changes in the National Environmental Policy Act for the first time in nearly 4 decades. That would designate a single lead agency to develop environmental reviews and helps with streamlining the process. Now, a Supreme Court case just came up. What's going on is unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats, faceless, nameless, are making laws through the federal government. The EPA is a classic example. And the FBI is too. What's that one piece of equipment they made illegal now? It's just basically a piece of plastic or a piece of metal that you put on your shoulder. They're making that a felony. Anybody that has one has to turn it in or report they have it or some other nonsense. What they're doing is they're creating legislation without a legislature. And that has to stop. That has to stop. Republicans have long sought to reel back the Biden administration's efforts to provide student loan relief and to aid to millions of borrowers during the corona pandemic. Yes, they did put a stop. Now, any college student or anybody with college debt, they waived the payments for quite a while through COVID and extended it. It's going to go on for 30 more days, but it will end then, the waiver, and make payments. Anybody that's even halfway decent with money, and if you're a college student or owe college debt, you should have been paying off as much as the principal as you possibly could during this waiver time, if you could. It'll reduce your interest being paid at the end of the loan dramatically. Very much like a mortgage where you make 13 payments a month instead of 12. And if you have a 20-year or a 30-year mortgage, you'll save tons of money just for that one extra payment a year. These college students and or people that owe college debt, I think the smart ones took advantage of the fact that there was a freeze on the payments without interest piling up during that time, could pay off a lot of the principal than they normally wouldn't have. But then again, they're younger and they probably haven't been taught how to use money. McCarthy, Republican California, said the House will vote on the legislation Wednesday, given the Senate time to consider before June 5th. the day when Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told the U.S. could default on its debts obligations if the lawmakers did not act in time. Fox News has learned the House Rules Committee is set to meet at 3 p.m. Tuesday to prepare the debt ceiling bill for floor debate on Wednesday. Oh, God forbid they might work on a holiday. Got to get all their photo ops for Memorial Day. I'm sorry. You know what? If this was such a huge deal and it was so urgent, they could have met on Monday, but maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but I doubt it. So we're going to have to see the devil's in the details. Like I said, the IRS thing is just one thing that I screamed holy hell about when it was originally put in. 79,000 agents with sidearms, I might tell you up front. And what are those guys going to do? Clean up the office? Organize the paper clips and copy machine paper? No, they're going to be out in the field. And they're not going to be after, well, they're going to go after the ultra rich and try. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. The ultra rich and people with money and corporations have lawyers that make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 an hour. They're the top tax attorneys in the country, maybe even the world. They're not going to get any of those people. And the amount of effort is going to be put in to try to get them, they'd be lucky to get back 20, 30 cents on a dollar they put in expenses to try to get them. They're going to go after the middle class and upper middle class people and some lower income people as well. That's going to cause misery beyond belief. They're just going to send you a notice. You owe us $4,332. Oh, where'd that come from? Well, you made a mistake when you filed. Well, I didn't make a mistake. Well, prove it. You got to prove you're innocent when they say you're guilty. Just the reverse of what is right and just in this country. We're going to have to see. But I'm pretty pissed. I think McCarthy caved. I wouldn't be surprised as the details come out that one or two, it only takes two of the House Republicans that held out on his nomination for several days to go have a vote of no confidence if they're that mad. We're going to have to see how McCarthy handles this. Is there going to be a vote of no confidence every single day after this for the next year and a half? And I don't think McCarthy wants that. But if he pushes for too much, the Democrats will blame him. This whole thing's a gigantic cluster. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.